Okay, on this slide, we are going to go through a problem where we have a whole number and a fraction, and we are asked to divide and then write the answer in the different forms. So I have already set up here the problem, how we would set it up for following our fraction division rules. So I'm going to read the fraction division rules first. You have to keep the first fraction how it is. Now here, because we had a whole number and we're also dealing with a fraction, I went ahead and put that whole number over 1 so that I have a fraction divided by another fraction. So the rule for dividing fractions is that I'm going to keep my first fraction, leave it there, don't do anything to it. Then I'm going to take this operation of division and I have to change it to multiplication. Next, I have to go to my second fraction in my problem and I need to flip it or use the reciprocal. So reciprocal just means that instead of having 1 over 2, now I have 2 over 1. So that is how you follow the rules for dividing fractions. Keep the first, change the sign to multiplication, flip the second. Now I'm back to my rules for multiplying fractions. And if you remember from the previous slide, I just multiply across 5 times 2. That gives me 10. 1 times 1, that gives me 1. So my answer becomes 10 over 1. Now if you remember, whenever we have a number over 1, like we started with here, that actually reduces down to just the whole number of 10. Okay, so just like we started with 5 and we put it over 1 to make it into a fraction, if I have a fraction where there's a 1 in the denominator, I can reduce that down to just being a whole number. So here's the answer that we're working with, 10. So I need to write 10 in decimal form. So remember, you write your number. If it's a whole number, you just put a decimal point and a 0 follow. Then I need to write that as a fraction. Well, we have it right here. 10 over 1, that's fraction form. Then we need to make a percent. So I take my decimal from the first answer that I gave and I move it 2 spaces to the right. I would fill in a 0 here and rewrite that number. And that would be 1,000%. Now I need to write that answer as words. So I'm just going to write 10. And that's all you have to do for dividing whole numbers and fractions.